Sounds True presents Coming Closer to Ourselves, Session 2, The Foundation Teachings with Pema Chödrön.
So I want to continue this week with the Hinayana teachings, which, as I said, was a politically incorrect term, lesser yana, and it's the original path or the original teachings, the original instructions of the Buddha. It's the foundation teachings. What characterizes the foundation, and this is what all of our future practice and study is based on. It's like the ground. What characterizes these foundation teachings is curiosity, inquisitiveness, developing a truly open mind that can inquire and look. So curiosity, and in particular, curiosity about mind, or you could say curiosity about confusion. And so when the Buddha first taught, he presented something very important, and that was to look into and become curious about confusion, rather than call it bad or try to escape it, but to actually become curious about it. So why do we suffer? And why do we continue to suffer? Why, as a species, do we just do the same things generation after generation? So looking into confusion, looking into what it is we do. Another way of saying this is moving closer. I really like this expression because it seems to me it's exactly what's really being described. Moving closer to our bodies and minds, becoming actually aware and awake to each moment of our being, what's actually happening. That's why when we start with the meditation, why I'm going to have you start with going through your body, so that we're actually here. You really touch in. What I've noticed over the years is that we have a tendency to be too much in our heads, and that meditation can unfortunately perpetuate that tendency. So if we start with our bodies and become just mindful, just grounding ourselves in our bodies, what's actually happening, what are we feeling in our toes, in our stomach, in our heart area, in our throats, in our heads, in the back of our necks, just grounding ourselves. And it's this kind of curiosity. Just start with curiosity about what's going on. And the power of meditation is that it does give us a technique, a tool, to begin to be able to look at our bodies and our minds, at our whole being, with cleanly, sort of like a straight, without saying, this is wrong, this is right, I need to change this is bad, this is good. But just looking without that kind of commentary. That's so difficult to do, as you may have noticed. But meditation does give us a technique to touch in with the immediacy of our experience and to continue to train in not repressing our thoughts, but not getting all caught up in them, and definitely leading us in the direction of not buying the storylines, the self-denigration storylines, the I should be better, or I'm the greatest, or whatever the storyline might be. Now I'm doing it right, now I'm doing it wrong, all of that stuff. Just touching in with the immediacy of our experience. So what I had us start with tonight is a little bit based on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, generally starting with mindfulness of body. Then there's mindfulness of feeling and mindfulness of effort. I combined those two rather neatly in just touching in with the immediacy of your mood, because we come in here, it's Monday night, we rushed here, and who knows what today was like, not to mention the last 15 or 20 minutes. And so not saying good mood, bad mood, or, should, shouldn't, but just like where we're at. I was meditating this way before I came over today. I was in Marin County, and I was driving over, and I was feeling very peaceful until I sort of sat down and actually really tuned in. I realized I was scared to death. I was nervous about coming over to teach. And I had this sort of illusion of sort of stillness or something, but when I actually sat, my stomach was sort of in a knot, and I was nervous. There was this nervous energy. So that kind of curiosity, it's a kind of honesty with ourselves, which really meditation is meant to lead to honesty with ourselves. And then the fourth foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of mind. Sometimes, although this is difficult to do, I like to just sort of touch into what I'm saying. It's not exactly the standard technique of letting the thoughts go, but it's like listening, actually being sort of curious about what's the storyline about. Sometimes, that's the knot in the stomach, the mood of anxiety, and the words, they kind of all go together. So it's a kind of a touching in, an emotional honesty, a physical feeling honesty, moving closer to ourselves. And it's like I was talking about last night, this question of staying, just last week, just staying with ourselves. And in the process, noticing how we go away and stay away quite a long time, and then coming back. So just training in this without judging ourselves. So these original teachings of the Buddha, the essence of them is curiosity, inquisitiveness, this real openness to want to know. And ideally training through the practice of meditation so that it's a non-conceptual knowing. But of course, in the process, one of the things we get very familiar with is how busy our minds are. And I'll be talking more about meditation next week, per se. This week, I'd like to talk a little about the development of ego, the 5 skandhas, and something which Rinpoche did not explicitly point out in the teachings in the Myth of Freedom. He talked about egolessness and suffering. I'd like to talk specifically about what are called the 3 marks of existence, which are impermanence, egolessness, and suffering. So we have our kind of a basic situation, which you'll see Rinpoche comes very much always from the point of view of space. And it's like his starting point. And those of you who have studied skandhas in other ways, you might feel that his presentation of the skandhas is pretty different than maybe what you've read before. Not contradictory, but a different approach. But in general, as a student of Rinpoche's, I was trained that way too, that the kind of the basic view is that there's a lot of space, open space. In my teaching, I often call this groundlessness. From the point of view of someone who is awake, which we all are in moments, space is a relief. It's a sense of not being caught up. Spaciousness and a personal experience that we all have is like all caught up in something emotionally or talking to ourselves about something, and maybe there's a loud noise or something that completely distracts you, and you just drop it, and there's a sense of, whew, what a relief that really you don't have to be going on and on and on, fanning the emotions and building up these big dramas. Like someone telling me that they were having a fight with their wife, and it was a very habitual kind of fight. They were really angry with each other, and they were yelling at each other, and she had just picked up a vase and was about to throw it at him, and both of them sort of simultaneously noticed their cat sitting there on the couch just smiling at them. And he just sort of started to laugh, and for a while she was like that, but then somehow